Hello friends, today's guest in Educators Talk is not a YouTuber. He runs a popular website howacarworks.com, which has now become a bible of automobile engineering. I welcome Mr. Alex Muir, the founder of howacarworks.com, to the interview. Alex, welcome to the interview.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to join you, Sabin.
It's my pleasure too. So how are you doing today?
Oh, very well, thank you. I'm sorry if you see paint on me. We've been painting a new office. So
Are you in the studio
it's
now?
all go here, every day, non-stop. Yeah, at the moment we're in the studio, which we've got a new studio that's been, I would say, finished for about a year now. When I started this project, it was kind of a project that, I wasn't sure how long we would do it for. I wasn't sure that there was an audience of people who wanted these detailed videos about every part of a car. And since then, we've realized that there is people and they absolutely love it. And so we've actually gone out and built a special studio for this exact series, for presenting car parts, breaking things down and explaining in detail. Yeah. So what you see behind me is our studio, which is a dream garage for me. And ironically, before I started this series, I never even had a garage. This is my first garage.
Perfect. The perfect background for a video short. Our audience is going to love it.
Thanks.
Alex, then let's start the interview.
Yeah, let's chat.
So Alex, I'm always amazed by the way you teach automobile fundamentals and practicals. People either teach using completely 3D animation or using pure practicals. But in your case, you take real components of a car out and add visual effects and 3D animation above that and teach most complicated things in a funny and interesting way. So my question is that why did you adapt this difficult way of style as your teaching methodology?
Well, it's interesting because when I began this project, I knew things about cars. I'd worked on cars for years, but I didn't necessarily know exactly how things worked. I understood how to fix things, and there was parts of a car which I understood in detail, and other areas where it just seemed kind of magical to me. And so I really wanted to actually get into the details, not just of the basic function of items, but why are they designed the way that they are, and how do they actually do the job that they do? And that's really the premise behind the series. Is there's certain things which are fantastic to see in CGI, and there's other things where it helps to see real parts with real rust and real dents and the actual items that people deal with. And sometimes looking at real things, you can't see how they work because you can't see inside them. Or for whatever, for example, let's visualize the combustion process. We can look at an engine block all day long, but without some sort of visualization, it's very, very hard to explain, what happens inside there. And so what we've tried to do is to combine the real world with graphics and illustrations and 3D CGI and things like this to create something that hopefully at the end of 20 minutes watching a video on, for example, the muffler, you understand exactly how a muffler works, all the different various varieties of muffler that are out there, and why car manufacturers use the designs that they do. And incidentally, I suppose, from that comes, from the understanding of how things work, it becomes much easier to fix things. So that is really, my deep feeling on education is if people understand how things work, it becomes much, much easier to fix things because you understand how it should work and it isn't working that way. And then you can figure out, well, why is it not performing the way that it should be, using the knowledge that you have, rather than what a lot of people are forced into is, there's a problem, so they have to search for, an exact search result, for example, on Google of why, what that fault is and how to fix it. And that's, when I look at real excellent mechanics, these guys have that deep knowledge of how things work, and that's how they're able to just deal with whatever car rolls into the shop, because they actually know how things work, and that's, I think, what's missing from schooling a lot of the time these days.
Nice. So you want to transfer the theoretical and fundamental knowledge. In the meantime, you want to make sure that the education is more practical in such a way that if something bad happens to your car, you'll be able to correct it yourself. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think people, there's a lot of theoretical education. So I went to university, and I actually didn't do engineering, but and I wish I had done engineering to an extent. But one of the reasons I didn't do engineering was I'm kind of more practical. I enjoy doing things with my hands. I enjoy building things and maintaining things. And although I can understand the science and the theory and that kind of thing, I think the practical side of education just gets kind of ignored. And I think a lot of the time people think, oh, well, we'll leave it. Somebody will hire this person, and at that stage they'll teach them to weld. And I think that's a mistake, and it seems a shame to me. It's not something that we can solve with this video series because it's very, very hard to give people the practical knowledge that they need through a video course. But I hope that we inspire people to say, hey, you know what? It's actually not that difficult. Grab a grinder, grab a welder, grab some wrenches, and you can really do a lot without any previous experience.
Alex, anyway, I didn't know that you are not an engineer because most of the time you are explaining better than an engineer. Your fundamental knowledge is so good.
Thanks.
I have learned a lot of things from your videos.
Thanks. I mean, I'm in a strange way. I am an engineer, but I'm more of a software engineer, I would say. So I have a strange background. My degree was Arabic at university. I studied an MA in Arabic and Middle East politics. I then worked for a while in London. I studied law. Then I worked doing some accountancy things and some business things. After that, I founded a magazine and did some things with this. And all the time, all during that process, I was also a software developer. So I would always be writing websites or building pieces of software or something like that. So I've always had a real deep interest in software engineering, computer engineering, and also physical building, actual engineering of buildings, renovation of things, that kind of thing. So I've always been doing practical things, and over that period of time, I've learned a lot. And at the same time, I've been fiddling with cars and fixing cars that I needed to use to, drive from A to B. And so I have quite a strange background, and I actually think that really helps in this series because I never had a formal education in vehicle engineering. Nobody ever really, took me and taught me these things. My family doesn't have any interest in cars or anything like that. So, when I teach it in the way that I would have liked to learn it, I think. And what also helps is I really like it. Like, it's fascinating to me. When I read and research, because for every episode I research as well. I don't know all this stuff off the top of my head. I know some of it, but I want to make sure that what I say is correct and that it's relevant for the future. So I always hit the books, I watch the videos, I really do a lot of research. And when I learn new things, it's fascinating to me. We just finished an episode on mufflers. And it's not mufflers or silencers as we call them in kind of British or Commonwealth English. And it's fascinating, the engineering in there. In a way, they're really simple devices, but in another way, it's really interesting that every manufacturer takes a different design approach to their mufflers in order to create a different sound from the exhaust. It's not necessary. Every car could use the same muffler, more or less. But they don't, because there's small tweaks that you can make. It's very interesting.
That's great anyway. You have the most diverse educational background. And now you are teaching automobile engineers of the whole world.
I hope it helps. I think, when we do it, we take it, I'm not going to say that we take it super seriously because it should be entertaining at the same time. But one thing that I do really like that we do is that I hope that we create almost TV quality productions. We shoot everything in 4K, we use a proper studio, we use real cameras, we edit it brilliantly. And I hope that it's the kind of content that would be great on TV, except on TV, they have to cater to an audience of 10, 20 million people. And those people don't want to talk for 20 minutes about mufflers. That's okay, I completely understand that. We're catering to an audience of, I don't know, 100,000 people, 200,000 people who want to get into the details, because often on TV they don't really talk about any technical things. They just, jump in a car and say it goes really, really fast, and let's shoot some videos of us sliding around a bend.
Yeah, the surface knowledge only. Right.
Yeah, it's and I understand that. That's the market for TV. But the beauty of platforms like YouTube, YouTube and the internet generally, it means that you can create this content which is exciting for a relatively small number of people compared to the population of the world. But in reality, it's still 2 or 3 football stadiums full of people who are fascinated by engine mounts or piston rings or some obscure part of a car. Yeah, it's very similar to your thing as well, I think, because your videos are extremely comprehensive and just really beautifully made.
Thank you for the compliments. Alex, let's move to the next question.
No, I mean...
Yeah, let's move to the next question. This is about your business model. Currently, I can see that you generate money by selling your course on your website or an Android app or iOS app. One thing I always wonder is that why don't you upload all your videos on YouTube and explore the big YouTube advertisement money? Why don't you do that?
Yeah. It's a good question. And the answer is that I don't know very much about YouTube. And my priority at the moment is that I want to finish the course. I want to do all the filming and complete this car. Initially, the plan was to shoot 20 hours of video. And it was a guess, because it's very, very hard. If somebody says to you, how many hours of video does it take to cover a whole car in detail? Who knows, because nobody ever did it. So initially we thought 20 hours. Now we've already filmed 14 hours, and I would say we've probably got at least another 10 hours still to do to cover the remaining parts of the car. So my priority at the moment, and has been for the last year or so, is to get the course finished in order that we can say, this is a complete car explained from A to Z. When it comes to the business model, at the moment, the business model is that people, I call it pre-order, but effectively, the course is well over halfway finished. So you actually get, 14 hours of finished video already. So it's not really a pre-order. So people pre-order the course, and that money sustains the production. We don't make big money off that, but that pays the production costs, pays for tea and biscuits in the garage, and enables us to actually produce the content. The thing is with YouTube, I put some of the videos on YouTube, but we really don't get very many views. And to me, I understand the internet, I understand Google and search engine rankings, and I've run websites in one form or another for 15 years or so. And if you go on Google and you Google engine block, we're effectively the #1 result, I think, around the world, and it's the same for many parts of a car. Whereas on YouTube, we produce a video on engine blocks, and we get maybe, I don't know, 30,000 views, and the advertising revenue on that video so far is probably $7. The numbers just don't even come close to making sense for us. So although I don't put all the videos on YouTube, our advertising revenue last month was $20 from YouTube. I mean, it doesn't pay for anything. So, maybe maybe the reality is, if we put all the videos on and we got to multiple hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers, then the money would be rolling in and we'd be fine. But I don't know if that is the case, and I can't afford really to subsidize a production that costs, well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars to take a risk on, that paying off in the future. It may be in the future we put everything on YouTube, but I like the idea that we have, my incentive in producing these videos is to teach people how cars work, and I want people to come to my video and to learn the thing that they needed to learn and to then move on with their lives. Ideally, I want people to go to the garage and do the work that they wanted to do, or to play with the car, or to do the project. And on the internet, it's interesting. In a bigger picture, our interests are aligned on Google. Somebody types in on Google how a windshield wiper works. They find our results on the site, or they find a video about that. They watch the video and they move on with their lives. And that is the way that Google's search results are structured. YouTube, on the other hand, is more about, here's a video about it, but actually here's another video that you might want to keep watching, and here's another video, and YouTube's interest and business model is in keeping people watching YouTube for hours and hours, and not saying, okay, I learned what I needed to learn, I'm going to move on and continue with life. And for me, I like the idea that people.
So you don't want to make your audience a YouTube addict?
I don't think. I'm not going to say that we won't use YouTube, because it's a great platform for video. There's so much good quality content on YouTube. You can find videos about absolutely everything on there. But for what we're doing, I think I like that people pay us for a product, and they are the customer, and we provide them with a product. There's nobody else. I don't have any advertisers. I don't have to advocate products that I don't like. I'm not really trying to persuade people to do anything else. Yeah, so the relationship is between me and the people that buy the course, and nobody else is involved. I don't have to worry about drawing red circles around everything to make sure more people click on my video. I'm not bothered. They pay for the video course, they watch it, hopefully they learn, and everybody's happy. Maybe we'd move on to YouTube in the future, but I like to have that independence. I mean, ironically, we don't have that much independence because we're still kind of very closely related with Google in terms of search results and things. So, whichever way you roll the dice, Google is my boss and
controlling your traffic.
Yeah, it's an interesting. But I'm fascinated by the business model of video and web content creation. These things really, really interest me.
That's great. So we need a very simple business model, a simple and straight business model. People pay the money, $25. That's a very small amount. And they learn it. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, our business model is very simple. And to be honest, it's the classic business model. Produce a product, people buy it, they own it for life. This is another thing which, at the moment, we just charge a one-off price for the course. And it's fairly low. I think, it's $20.
Yeah, it's not even subscription. It's one-time payment.
No, it's not a subscription because I want to finish it and I want it to be yours forever. You bought it. I understand why people have a subscription model, particularly when they're creating content week after week after week, and it's an ongoing project, for the rest of their lives, effectively. But I would like to finish this series, and if we were in a world where DVDs still existed, to put it on DVDs, and when somebody buys it, they get the DVD and they own it forever. I don't want somebody to feel like they have to pay, a certain amount every month for the rest of their days. To me, that just doesn't really make sense. Well, from a business point of view, it probably does make sense and we'd make more money that way. But I like the transparency that we have in that, you pay this amount of money, you have lifetime access to the course, and it's yours forever. And, the thing is, it works for us as well because it covers the production costs. When we finish the series, then, maybe we'll explore other business models. But until then, this one's nice and simple. And I like the relationship that I have with my viewers as well, which is nice that they, our relationship is direct. I have their emails, I know their names, I know where they are, they can email me, and we have that direct relationship, and you kind of lose that when you start to play through other platforms. For example, we could be on Udemy, and that would be a similar business model, but ultimately, all the customers would be Udemy's customers and not mine. I like that relationship that we have with people. And if somebody wants something from us, then, we'll make it.
So you want to avoid any third party in between?
Yeah, I want to avoid that as much as possible.
Nice. Unless I can see that you have a website that is well professional, then you have an iOS app, Android app, and then you have 3D animation, visual effects on your videos. So do you have a separate team for developing all these things?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this has been a project that's brewed over 2 years or so. So effectively, I wrote the website and I do the design on there as much as I can. I'm not a terrific designer, but I have a reasonable eye for it. So I wrote the site and I maintain that. The video editing and camera work, I have a guy that does that who's absolutely terrific. And the 3D modeling that we did, the 3D stuff, what you see in the videos is almost just the surface of what we have. This is a big ongoing project that we have, where we took this MX-5 Miata, and actually we built every single nut and bolt on that car in 3D. We took everything to pieces. So, not just the outside of parts, but actually, we cut open the parts to find out what's inside and made those insides. And the entire thing is in one file, every nut, every bolt, everything, perfect dimensions, fits together. And we have an ongoing project to make that available in the browser and in the apps so that you can explore that 3D model, straight away on your computer whilst watching the video at the same time. And that was done by a team of 3 guys, one from Poland, one from Hungary, one from Romania, and it took them 6 weeks. So 6 weeks full time for 4 guys to completely model a car in 3D. And then since then, I have a lady that works with me here who's really fantastic at making models, and she produces new things that we come across. So I don't know if you can see behind me, but we have a Renesys engine from an RX-8, a really fantastic rotary Wankel engine, and we've just finished building that engine in 3D. Again, every nut, every bolt, every seal, every single part of that engine is modelled, and we'll slowly release that onto the web. But the bottleneck there is I have to actually write the code.
Nice. So there's a huge team behind this, a dedicated team.
I wish we had a bigger team because the work just comes in, and we also do some video work for clients. So we have some industrial clients that produce tools or machinery, these kind of things, and we do video production for them, actually go to their factories and shoot videos, be it adverts or corporate videos, that kind of thing, which is something that's evolved from the actual How a Car Works series.
Nice. So Alex, the next question is an ongoing debate. Since you are an automobile expert, I hope you'll be the right person to answer this.
Oh, I hope so. Let's see.
So, electric car versus petrol cars. Where do you see the future?
I think it's almost certainly going to default to electric vehicles for every case, except edge cases where there are certain things where, for example, super long distance travel. Okay. I can see that there's a possibility that there's still a need for petrol vehicles there. I mean, if we look back in time, I'm sure that people had this debate with steam engines, and people thought, oh, well, there'll always be a role for steam engines to play. And the reality is that there really hasn't been a role for steam engines to play, certainly in transportation. I think that it's inevitable to me that electric vehicles will take over. Now, how quickly that happens, I really don't know, but okay. I think we're looking at a minimum of 10 or 20 years, I think, really a minimum. There's a current, theme that people think that will outlaw petrol cars by 2025 or whatever the numbers are that people are quoting. I think it's very unlikely that will actually happen. If you look around on the streets, the number of electric vehicles versus
petrol car. So Alex, if electric cars take over the world, will you consider to do one more course series regarding electric cars?
Absolutely. I would love to do How an Electric Car Works. And actually, there's topics, so that is the plan, that when we finish this series, I would love for us to take an electric car. And we've got some other topics that I'd like to get into. Self-driving. I really want to pull some of these LiDAR detectors and actually get into the coding that goes on, understand how the software works, look at the image recognition and some of this machine learning and AI. And, it appeals to me as a software developer to actually get into the code and really dive into that. And I think the two would go really well hand in hand. I would love for us to bring in a Tesla Model S and take it to pieces, explain all the electric parts and also all the self-driving and the autopilot technology. I really think that's going to be fascinating. And for us, I think that'll be a terrific business because the How a Car Works series has a good audience of people, but many people know already how cars work, whereas very few people know how an electric car works. So I really can't wait to do that. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think one thing that it does seem to me that hybrid cars maybe don't have a very long future. I have a feeling it will be either electric or petrol. I don't think there'll be much of a market for hybrid vehicles, but who knows?
Okay, Alex, if you want to build a Tesla Model S, please let me know. We're already having the 3D model of that. I can help you out.
Oh, that would be terrific. Yeah, wow, fantastic. Okay, we'll talk. I'm curious, you do 3D modeling and animation all the time. And I think, am I correct in saying you use Blender?
Yeah, we use Blender.
Yeah.
It's a free software you can install and transfer the files.
We use Blender for everything. We use Blender for our entire project, start to finish. And you know, for anybody that doesn't know about 3D modeling, Blender, you can just go to blender.org and download it, and it's phenomenally powerful. You know, when I remember, how long have you been involved in 3D modeling?
For the last 5 years.
Graphics?
5 years.
Okay.
And Blender 2.0 is just out.
Okay.
It's an awesome software. Did you try Blender 2.8, Alex?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. We use, so there's a new rendering engine called Eevee, and it's literally cut our rendering times down from maybe, you know, the rendering times for these videos is terrifically long, so maybe a complex frame used to be about 2 minutes on a, you know, a reasonably powerful computer. And now with Eevee, we're down to probably 3 or 4 seconds maximum in a 4K quality. It's really, really fantastic. I know you guys have got some pretty powerful computers there, I think, haven't you?
No, I don't think so. Our rendering still takes 5 to 6 minutes, and we are still we are still using the Blender's old rendering engine, Blender internal.
Okay. Wow. I really explore Eevee because it's fantastic. You get 99% of the quality that you used to get from their old Cycles render engine, but really it's almost real time. Like, it's been a real game changer for us in terms of rendering this stuff out. Because we used to do, you know, a 15-second clip of CGI, and we'd have to leave the computer overnight. And you get back in the morning, and you know, I noticed that I've accidentally left some big holes in
mistake,
it, so we have to do it again.
Yeah. We do that every day.
So. It's when you make your models, do you have the physical things there, or do you have to work from photographs and things like this?
Yeah, we work on photographs. In the internet, the blueprints are available, like the front view, side view, and the exact dimensions.
Yeah.
So we just add them in the background and build 3D models above that. That's our approach.
Yeah. Okay. That takes some real skill to do this.
Yeah, we have skilled animators for that. We're very lucky that we have the physical car parts here, so anytime there's a question about, you know, how things go together, we can actually go out to the garage and slot the things together and see how they work. Right. The 3D stuff, and I'm, you know, we explored virtual reality to see if we were going to make some sort of VR app to enable people to pull a car to pieces. Unfortunately, you know, VR hasn't really progressed far enough that it would be worth it for us commercially, and it doesn't really, the experience wasn't terrific, but I do think there's a real exciting future for 3D coming in some form. I'm just not sure what that form is. Exactly.
Maybe in the future people can actually jump into one of your videos and you know, move around in the video that you create and see, because your animations are terrific. You know, I appreciate probably more than most people how difficult it is to show, for example, the flow of fluid in a hydraulic pipe or the movement of gas, and you guys really capture that really well. It's often very hard to show those things, and you do a great job of it.
Thank you, thanks a lot. And virtual reality is already there. There's a huge hype on it in the beginning, but I think regarding virtual reality, there's a huge hype around it in the beginning.
Yes.
But I hope people are not adapting it. I don't find much market in this field.
Yeah, I mean, so any technology fascinates me, and very early with this course, we bought one of these HTC Vive headsets and set that up in the office to try and explore, you know, was this something that we could use? I thought maybe it would be useful even for modeling things, but the reality was that you have to install sensors in both corners of the room, and you have to have a space 3 meters by 3 meters or something to walk around in. And while the experience is great, it's really just a novelty. And we used it maybe once or twice, maybe 3 or 4 times, and you know, every month or something, or every 2 months, we think, oh, we'll get the virtual reality set up, but we never use it on a regular basis. It's just, I think it's too much of a novelty to break into the mainstream, and particularly the cables. You know, there's a big cluster of cables that come from the back of the helmet. That's the big barrier. I know that some companies are solving that problem, but you know, we'll see what comes from that. But at the moment, VR is I feel like it's kind of idling, and maybe there'll be another real push in the future. Well, we shall see.
Yeah, we have to wait and see.
Yeah, I would love for it to be, mainstream, but the technology is just not quite there yet.
Okay, Alex, we are coming to the last part of the interview.
Okay.
Alex, as you mentioned, you have diverse field of experience in many fields: automobile engineering, software development. More specifically, you are an all-rounder. So do you have any specific advice for our young automobile enthusiasts?
Yeah, I mean, I think with everything, you have to just start doing it. Whatever it is that you're thinking about doing, people often email me to say, and actually one of the things that's really good is this video course that we do. We have a lot of women that watch this course. It's certainly not 50%, it's probably not 30%, but I would say it's around 20% of our viewers are women. And I'm really happy to see that. And because people email and because we have a conversation, I have a good idea who watches this. And I like to hear people's stories. And when people email me, they often say, I have a car that I would like to do some restoration on, or I'm just really interested in it, or I want to be a mechanic, or I want to get into the automotive industry, or I've started working in a car parts shop and I want to understand what's happening. And the video course that we have is very accessible because we start with the fundamentals and we work our way up all the way through the car. So it's not like we just throw somebody in at the deep end and expect them to already understand a lot of engineering terms and things. But what I always say to these people when they ask, they say, I've watched the videos, I really want to get into working in the automotive industry more or full-time, what would you recommend? And I think the best thing you can do is to get involved in it physically. Read the books, watch the videos, but try to do some actual physical work. If you can get a car to work on, even if it's, completely ruined car, you can just learn a lot from trying to keep that on the road. And if you can get some experience working somewhere, or you've got friends who are interested in cars, or you just find somebody, it's actually a very friendly world. And I think when people appear somewhere and they actually have a real interest, you'd be surprised how supportive somebody is, particularly those who are really technical. Some people just do wrenching. There are many mechanics who are just doing it for a job, and that's fine. They don't love it. They might be fantastic. It's just a job for them. But there's other people who do it as a passion. And if you find those people who have the passion for it, and you go to them and you say that you've learned this, or you have some sort of understanding, you're interested in what they're working on, they'll find the time to teach you some stuff, because everybody wants to talk about what they work on with somebody else who's enthusiastic and keen for it. I'd be very happy to spend time with somebody teaching them about parts if they show that initial interest, if they show that initial commitment in learning some stuff to start with. That would be my advice. And it's the same with everything, whether you want to get into software development, whether you want to get into 3D modeling, or you want to, wrench on cars or whatever. The key to it is get involved, start doing things, and then find some people that you can learn from. And from there, you decide what you want to do. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely the way to go.
So your advice is just start doing it, do it practically.
Yeah, I think you have to try and get the practical experience. And the practical stuff, it's not the case that you can just learn it. We cover some practical skills, but it's something that you have to have a feel for. When we did some welding and things like this, I didn't know anything about welding, and we made a couple of videos about learning to weld and attempting to weld things up. And I am still a terrible welder. Any opportunity that comes along, I'll do some welding. But it's something that you've got to practice. It comes with hours and hours, days, weeks, years, doesn't matter, a certain amount of practice. And that's the same really. You're never going to watch videos and fix a couple of cars, and you can be the smartest person in the world, but when you walk into a repair shop and there's 5 different makes and models there with all different faults on them, you are never going to be able to deal with all that stuff as fast and as effectively as a guy who's been doing it for 25 years. because it just comes with experience. It's the same with software development. It's the same with 3D modeling. You know, when someone comes in and they join us, the first time they do something, it takes them an hour. The second time, it takes them 20 minutes. By the time they've done it 10 times, it takes them 5 minutes. And that difference between that initial 1 hour that somebody does when they very first start and the 5 minutes that you see somebody doing it in who's done it for 10 years, it seems like you would never get across that bridge, but it just comes with time.
Okay, so I'm done with my questions. I'm done with the interview.
Okay.
For me, it never felt like an interview. It was like a friendly chat for me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, this was great. I really enjoyed the chat. I've got so many questions for you. I feel like we might have to come back for another interview.
We'll do it one day, some other day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I'd love to pick your brains more about what it is that you guys do.
Yeah, we'll do one more interview for that. And dear viewers, before we leave, please check out Alex's website, howacarworks.com. In Learn Engineering, we teach things purely using animation. But in Alex's website, you can see things using animation as well as in practical aspect. A real integrated education. And the howacarworks.com website has already become Bible of automobile engineering. I hope it will reach more heights in the near future. Alex, thanks a lot for taking your time out from your busy schedule and attending this interview.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. It's so nice to hear that it's been interesting for you, because I see you as a kind of a guru on this stuff, and to hear that we maybe helped you in some way are very motivational for me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so let's keep in touch. Let's collaborate in future.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.